Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Good day, dear colleagues, dear journalists, dear speakers. I'm very happy to welcome you on our press center of the 15th Kazan Forum Russia Islamic World, Kazan Forum 2024. And today we start press conference, the concept of horizontal diplomacy, the basis for interaction between young diplomats and other professional communities in the interaction sphere. Forum of young diplomats is an inevitable part of Kazan Forum, and within all these years and every year we see a lot of young diplomats. And today I would like to present speakers. Kolpakov Konstantin Olegovich.
He's the chairman of the Council of Young Diplomats. Sadiq Vadilbar, chairman of the Academy of Youth Diplomacy, and Morozov Vladimir, vice rector for personal policy at MGIMO, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia. Sadikov Leonard Nailevich, since Safia Rahmat Ibrahim, the first consulate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chad. So the first question is to Konstantin. Please, could you tell a few words about the Forum of Young Diplomats? In this year, probably there are some peculiarities in comparison with the previous year. What is it attractive for? I'd like to tell you that there is an online broadcasting. So, good day, dear colleagues. Good morning. I'm happy to be here in the press center. Traditionally, Kazan is a hospital city, and it is very welcoming to the Russian and foreign diplomats. It's the 8th year we're holding this Forum of Young Diplomats. This grant helps to create informal contacts of the ministries of foreign affairs of the OIC countries. So this is the so-called concept of horizontal diplomacy, and the Forum of Young Diplomats is one of the most successful projects in 2024. About 30 diplomats from 20 countries came here. It's a good index, and the geography is diverse. It is the countries of Asia, Africa, CIS countries. What is its difference from the previous forums? So a big team is involved in this forum, including the members of government and our Tatarstan Republic Agency for Investment Development, our friends from the Academy of Young Diplomats, and our team of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I think we managed to compile a very good program, because we'll discuss newly forming multipolar world. Probably, I think you've watched news today. There was a press conference of the leaders of China and Russia. Our President Putin is in China with an official visit, and so it was said that the multipolar world is being formed right now, and one of the poles of this world is the Organization for Islamic Cooperation. We'll also discuss the diplomacy in new spheres and traditional diplomacy. So it refers to humanitarian digital diplomacy and some other aspects of the diplomacy. And the most interesting aspect here is, actually all the sessions are interesting, but the most interesting one will be devoted to humanitarian aspects of the foreign policy and the diplomacy of new spheres. We are expecting to have esteemed guests, and Mr. Lavrov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, yesterday addressed the forum participants. So this is my answer. Thank you very much. Can I say a few words on how the Forum of what is the influence of the Forum of Young Diplomats on the situation as a whole? What are your achievements? Is there anyone eager to answer this question. Yes, of course, the forums influence the situation. As we understand it, it's a long-term project because we are creating foundations for long-term cooperation, and over 250 diplomats took part in the forums throughout these years. And as far as each of the participants is an acting diplomat, it's a great influence. And one of the successful examples is the fact that in March we launched the Association of the Young Diplomats, the organization which unites diplomats all over the world. The Secretary Council is based in MGIMO. It started working, and it helps to form more friendly, long-term environment. As far as these young diplomats in several years will become grown-ups and will influence some UNO documents. Can I have some additions? In spite of the fact that this forum is a ground for young diplomats, but still, here we discuss topics which have never been discussed by diplomats working at the governmental levels, and young diplomats of foreign ministries of the countries successfully build connections between each other, and they form this community between the young diplomats. And today we'll discuss the diplomacy of new spheres. Before that, we haven't discussed such topics. So one of the important aspects, such as technological diplomacy, rose great interest, and we discussed how scientific and technological progress influences the diplomacy, and we understand that these technologies should become the benefit for diplomats, not an obstacle. Can I have? I want to ask Rinat Nailevich whether young diplomats from Tatarstan really are involved in this process. Good day, dear colleagues. The Republic of Tatarstan highly appreciates the potential of the forum and opportunities offered to young diplomats through this forum. It is the eighth time that this forum of young diplomats is held, and it arouses more and more interest year on year at different levels, the levels of embassies and so on. And we see that the forum of young diplomats is very high. About 20 countries are participating in it this year, and a lot of embassy representatives work here with us. And the level of integration discussed by our leaders is observed not only in the sphere of economy, but in the sphere of youth policy and social connections. And as my colleagues mentioned, and I support my colleagues today, we are just growing new leaders of the new embassies, new types of embassies who will determine the vectors of development in the foreign relations of the respective countries. And today I'd like to mention that the Republic of Tatarstan, its government, is interested in active development of the youth diplomacy, and the Republic of Tatarstan is a very strong region in terms of economy. We have high potential for development of economic ties with different continents and countries, and these are namely young diplomats who can become an additional bridge in building a proper, equal dialogue with my colleagues have already mentioned that we were playing in favor of just one party, one pole, but today we are facing a multipolar world, and all the conditions equal conditions must be offered to all the participants, and the Republic of Tatarstan, as a republic, is making a great contribution to organization of this forum, and we greatly appreciate and we are very grateful to our colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and to your council, and of course our partners here is the Academy of Young Diplomats who have worked here for several years already very successfully. Thank you for your answer, and also would like to ask Ms. Abrogim, as our guest from the Republic of Chad, could you tell us how the movement of young diplomats is feeling itself? What is your experience, whether you're taking an experience from Russia? Do you exchange experience, whether this movement is popular in your country?
Thank you so much. Before I'll answer your interesting question, I would like to point out that this forum is very interesting, and this forum has been already a good platform for young diplomats in Chad as a benchmark, as an example of cooperation between Russia and Africa, between the OIC countries and Russia and Chad. I would say that in Chad and in Russia is quite similar to each other. So there are some slight cultural differences in Islamic world, or cultural and religious countries and traditions, but I would say that young people have more or less equal political views, so they have similar values, so everyone wants peace and cooperation and interaction and to learn more about each other. So that is why our views on diplomacy, on young diplomacy, is quite similar to each other. Are not really different from Russian diplomats. That's why in our country, our young people take part in political activity of our country as well as international level diplomacy. So they're interested in the global situation. So that's why we witness that young people both in Chad and in Africa, all in all, they all start to they giving their voice, and they point out some difficulties or what is going wrong in justice. So from the point of justice. So before diplomacy or politicians, only governmental activists were talking about that, or on governmental level. Nowadays, well, we take into consideration population and young people associate that are united in associations. So they all talk about development of their countries and they show interest in the life of their own countries. So by all means, young people are trying to put forward interest of their country and to demonstrate in diplomatic way their values. So what they really want, and it demonstrates that young people are very important in this diplomatic area and political area as well. So, because the voice of the youth is very important in my personal view, as young people are they're the future the future stuff. So that's why they have a fresh look on some views. So, and it's very natural, it's very true. So that's why diplomacy nowadays, if we focus on diplomacy of young people, I think that would contribute to relations between our countries, and it would bring peace to the whole world. So I hope that I answered my question. Sorry for my Russian level. So you have a marvelous Russian, so we got your idea. So you pronounced a very important note. So the next question is to Vladimir Mikhailovich as a academic staff. So what about young diplomats? Do they have enough skills to implement some projects, and how young diplomats are capable of solving some state issues? So thank you very much, dear colleagues. If we talk about young diplomats and their role in decision making, in big decision making, I would say that the decisions are made by more experienced diplomats and politicians, but the system doesn't work with diplomats of a high-end diplomats. So the system works in such a way so that it should combine young, middle-aged diplomats. As a university, we are preparing the academic staff and staff for our international departments. So within the framework of this forum, all our students take part in activities. So that's why we don't just believe, we see that the real work cannot be imagined without young diplomats. So that's why we see that in the government and in the authorities of the Republic of Tatarstan and the Ministry of International Affairs, they really focus and pay attention to implement and produce this kind of work. And they're giving opportunities for young diplomats. For instance, on Kazan Forum, well, I would say it's not the only platform where young diplomats can realize their potential. So that's why these opportunities are very important for young diplomats. Here, they can give it a try to their skills, of their negotiations, and the ability of communicate internationally. As a university, we are worked under the supervision of Ministry of International Affairs, so that's why we are very grateful to the Council of Young Diplomats, as we're in tight cooperation with them. Thank you so much. So, colleagues, any questions from the hall? So, would you like to ask any questions? So, if you have no questions, we will proceed. So, one more question. Recently, we have witnessed a tendency on turning to online formats, online communication. So speaking about diplomacy, what kind of challenges are the major ones? Is it a live connection, live communication. So you need to formulate personal relations of young diplomats. Won't we see that in like 20, 30 years, when young diplomats would become adults and they would switch it all to online format? So will we have this? Yeah. I would like to comment on this question. So we always ask for them. So do we really need to train our diplomats and should they study foreign languages? So it goes without saying that despite the fact that we have automated translation mechanisms, and they do quite a decent job, this AI. But the answer is no. Nothing can substitute the real person-to-person communication. So that's why young people, they have difficulties with this live communication due to social networks. So that's why diplomacy and all these diplomatic skills and of course foreign languages, they cannot be substituted on diplomatic level. And like we call it like a living rapport between foreign international colleagues. That's why we study culture, political system, history, geography of the country, to make a good rapport between interlocutors. So that's why these skills, they would be on the edge always. So, and I would like to add a couple of words to comment on that, on the example of Kazan Forum and Kazan Summit. So, speaking about your if well, we could just like make every participant sit in front of the screen. So that's why we can make an artificial background, and we won't even use business ties, or we can use deepfake systems. So that's why we can exchange our opinion, and that's why like we make a full stop. So we held a summit, and that's it. Well, of course, it doesn't work like this. So, real sensations cannot be substituted by online. So, the joy and the pleasure of communicating with people, and especially with international colleagues, so that you won't by any chance meet these people apart from these events. So, that's why digital technologies would never replace a real politics and real diplomacy. So, it can facilitate some things like distribution of information, spreading information, but to make a good, warm relationship, person-to-person relation, empathy, and is a must. So that's why diplomatic profession, it looks quite easy. So it's as simple as it is. So you just like come, say hi, shake hands, and establish a relationship done. But it's only the surface of it. So of course it requires a deep preparation for years. So, like for instance, to keep silence in some ways, or to make a gesture and to realize what is allowed and what is not allowed to do. So that's why this is the core of diplomatic work. So, and what is the age limit? What is the entry level of young diplomats? So, who is the youngest participants of your movement?
So we are now participating in the working group in the project in which in which children aged 3+ are involved, and the youngest participant of our movement from Azerbaijan is 20 years old. He is taking place in our forum. And he graduated from the institution just 4 months ago and came here for a business trip. We also work with school children and students, and they're very grateful to us, and they ask very simple questions, but I'm happy that they have interest to this sphere. And there are children even of the 5th and 6th year, and within the framework of the first movement, the pioneer movement, we involve children from all over Russia in this activity. And as for our forums, the youngest one is 20 years old, working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the most experienced one was 52 years old. You could ask how come that he participated in this young forum, but just because there were no younger participants, but this country wanted to participate, and as an exception, yeah, we permitted this person to take part, him being the youngest one in the embassy. I represent the the organization representing the youth of Tatarstan, young diplomats of Tatarstan, and actually each of you are ambassadors and diplomats representing your community, your region, your republic, and we always communicate with each other, and in this respect we are all diplomats, and the goal of the official diplomacy is to develop proper skills for young people yeah, that would permit them to be proficient and fluent in communication and building ties and be a contribution to the community, to their own country and region. Now we have the joint project dealing with the school diplomacy involving children aged 12 plus, because here young people can start communicating with their young diplomats from these early ages, and they can start practicing foreign languages, and helps them to develop this skill of communication in a foreign language. But actually, there is a kind of law according to which young people aged 14 to 30 can be involved in this work. And we have a lot of young specialists who pretty well understand that the practice of language speaking is very important. And my final question is to Rinat Nailevich. As far as we are speaking the topic relating to youth, and there is the movement of the first of the pioneer movement. Is there any success or cases of success that you could share with us? Yeah, I'd. So this movement is actively developing in the Republic of Tatarstan at the level of race of the Republic, and there is a coordination council, including the key ministries, and each quarter we have a council of this coordination committee, and this committee takes certain decisions, and one the members of this council is the Ministry of Education, some other agencies, representatives of the Ministry of Culture, and today the movement of the first. It's already opened subsidiaries in many regions and in institutions dealing with the sports, with the diplomacy, with assistance, psychological assistance, and today this movement involves more and more school children and teenagers and enjoys great integration in all the lines just chosen at the federal level. And so we have some stories of success. Dear colleagues, is there anything you want to add or tell us? If not, we can finish. Are there any questions? So that's great that we have questions. I'm Diana Savelieva, newspaper Sokovennik. My question relates to diplomacy, because diplomacy is about unification. what is the picture of the world in 100 years, the picture of of Russia in 100 years. So it's a question to those who are dealing with deep analysis. I think there is no one who can professionally answer this question, but of course, we all want to see Russia a country of prosperity, comfort, and we want to all the people to be happy, surrounded by friends, be in abundance, and there is a lot done to achieve this dream, to make this dream come true. No matter whether it happens in 100 years or earlier, we hope to see this much earlier. And we have a lot of projects, programs. There are some investigations and researches held to probably try to foresee Russia in 30, 40, 50 years and in the respective institutions. But of course, it relates to certain lines of activity because it's difficult to give the exact picture as a whole. But if we had an opportunity to communicate with our ancestors, I think they would be astonished with the situation in Russia and Tatarstan, the current situation. And I think we will also be astonished with the picture of the future in 100 years. Yeah, my proposal is to get together here again in 100 years and see what is the result, what is the picture of the world. Yeah, yes, we can do that. And we can organize the forum of young diplomats with the same participants. And 100 years, before 100 years ahead. So these are very different perspectives because the time is speeding up. So this is. Oh, Sophia, do you want to add anything? Yes, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank the organizers of the forum because it's very important. It's very fruitful, abundant, and it not only creates ties between young diplomats. These are ties between the countries, nations, continents. Because when I come to attend in this forum, each time I manage to establish ties with people from all over the world, and that's why I'd like to thank the organizers of the forum, including the government of the Republic of Tatarstan. And I would also like to mention that cooperation between Russia and Chad are becoming more and more fruitful. And to prove that, I'd like to tell that Putin, our governor, came to meet with Putin this year, and as a result, in the sphere of education, we have some improvements in quotas. Formerly, we had 100 quotas for students, and this year, 400 students are given opportunity to come to Russia to study here. So this is the result of the diplomatic ties established, and so our activity really influences the governmental policy, diplomacy, and economy of the countries. And like to use this grant to say that this year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between Russia and Chad. And I'd like to invite you to come to Chad. I would be happy if we have such a large-scale event in our country. And our countries have always had friendly ties and relations. Thank you very much for your warm words, and I'd like to finish our press conference. Thank you for your activity, and I'd like to thank all the mass media representatives and our audience. Thank you very much.